The lights of the theater burned brighter than anything they had ever known, washing over the polished floor of the stage like a sunrise. Standing at the center were two figures who looked almost lost in the vastness of it all. A father and his teenage son from Cebu, Philippines, holding hands tightly as if letting go might cause everything to disappear. For them, this was not just a performance. It was a leap of faith, a final attempt at a dream that had been quietly growing through years of hardship, sacrifice, and unspoken pain. The father, Mateo Reyes, had the face of a man who had lived many lives in one. His hands were rough, marked by years of labor at construction sites and fishing docks back home. His son, Lucas, stood beside him, slim and nervous, his eyes darting toward the judges' table where the most powerful decision-makers in American entertainment sat. Among them was Simon Cowell, known worldwide for his brutally honest critiques and near-impossible standards. When the host asked them their names and where they were from, Mateo's voice shook slightly as he answered. Cebu, Philippines. He explained that they were a father-son duo, and that this was their first time leaving their country. The audience applauded politely, but there was curiosity in the air. They had seen singers before, duos before, families before, but something about the way Mateo kept glancing at his son hinted that there was more beneath the surface. Simon leaned forward and asked the question that always cut straight to the point. Why America's Got Talent? Mateo paused, swallowing hard. He said that music saved them. That it was the only thing that kept them together when life tried to tear them apart. Lucas lowered his head, his grip tightening on his father's hand. The judges nodded, waiting for the performance, unaware that they were about to witness a story that would redefine what the golden buzzer meant. As the music began, the theater fell silent. A single acoustic guitar filled the space, played by Mateo with a tenderness that contrasted sharply with his rugged appearance. Lucas began to sing, his voice soft, almost fragile at first. There was hesitation, like someone stepping onto thin ice. But then something shifted. His voice grew stronger, richer, filled with a pain that did not belong to someone so young, yet somehow felt deeply real. The song told a story of separation, of promises made under dim kitchen lights, of a father leaving home before sunrise and returning long after dark. It spoke of missed birthdays, unanswered questions, and love that was always present but rarely spoken. As Lucas sang, Mateo joined in, his deeper voice wrapping around his son's melody like an embrace. Their harmonies were imperfect, but they were honest. And that honesty hit harder than any flawless note ever could. Halfway through the performance, the first twist revealed itself. The lyrics shifted from loss to forgiveness. The father sang about regret, about choosing survival over presence, about watching his son grow up from a distance even when they lived under the same roof. The camera cut to the judges. One wiped away tears. Another sat with lips pressed together, visibly moved. And Simon Cowell, the man famous for his stone-cold demeanor, stared at the stage without blinking. The audience realized this was not just a song. It was a confession. As the final chorus approached, Lucas's voice cracked. For a split second, it seemed like he might stop. Mateo reached out, placed a steady hand on his son's shoulder, and kept playing. Lucas took a breath and sang the final lines with everything he had left. The last note hung in the air, fragile and raw, before fading into silence. For a moment, no one moved. Then the theater erupted. The applause was thunderous, mixed with cheers and sobs. People stood to their feet, clapping not just for talent, but for courage. Mateo pulled his son into a hug, both of them shaking, overwhelmed by what had just happened. Simon Cowell stood up. That alone shocked the room. He walked closer to the edge of the judges' table, his eyes visibly wet. He tried to speak, but his voice failed him. He took a breath and admitted something he rarely ever did. He said that in all his years on television, moments like this were why the show existed. Not for perfection, not for fame, but for truth. He said he saw his own struggles reflected in theirs, the sacrifices parents make, and the things that can never be taken back. Then came the second twist. Simon revealed that the song mirrored something deeply personal from his own life, something he had never expected to confront on that stage. The room went quiet again, the weight of his words settling in. He turned toward the golden buzzer, paused, and looked back at Mateo and Lucas. What happened next became one of the most replayed moments in the history of America's Got Talent. Simon slammed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti exploded from above, raining down on the father and son like a dream made real. Lucas collapsed to his knees, sobbing openly. Mateo covered his face, overwhelmed, whispering prayers under his breath. The audience screamed, cried, and celebrated all at once. This was not just a win. It was redemption. But the story did not end there. Backstage, cameras captured a quieter moment. Mateo revealed that just months before the audition, he had been diagnosed with a serious illness. Doctors warned him that time was uncertain. He admitted that this audition was never about winning. It was about leaving something meaningful behind for his son. Something that said, "I was here. I loved you. I tried." Lucas, through tears, said he had written the song in secret, afraid his father would never hear it if he waited too long. Singing it on that stage was the hardest thing he had ever done, but also the most freeing. As the episode aired across America, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Viewers flooded social media with messages of support, sharing their own stories of parents, children, sacrifices, and unspoken love. Clips of Simon Cowell wiping away tears went viral. News outlets called it one of the most emotional golden buzzer moments of all time. In Cebu, neighbors gathered around small television sets, watching with pride as their own stood tall on the world's biggest stage. For Mateo and Lucas, the journey had only just begun, but they had already achieved something greater than any trophy. They had been heard. Their story reminded millions that talent can impress, but truth transforms. That music is not just sound, but memory, pain, and hope woven together. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stand beside the person you love and tell the world how you feel. As the golden confetti settled and the lights dimmed, one thing was certain. This was not just another audition. It was a moment that would live forever in the hearts of those who witnessed it.